Good morning, good afternoon, hello everyone, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I don't know what time it is, because the clocks have changed. It's like apparently 10 to 10 in the morning, but it isn't, because they went forward, right? The clocks went forward an hour, so I've lost some sleep. This is the Gaming Aroma podcast. Welcome, hello, thank you for listening. I'm back again to rant and ramble at you about some gaming news and gameplay talk. I am your host, KDB, of course. What time is it? Not Chico time. We don't want that. I hate this when it happens. It's even more difficult when you're a parent and the clocks move back or forward, because it completely screws with your schedule and the stuff with the kid. But yeah, so why have the clocks gone back? It's Easter. It's Easter Sunday. Hallelujah. Yes, it's obviously a very big day today. Lots of chocolate. I'm sure there's some other stuff that happens this time of year as well. But it's mainly about chocolate in this house. I hope everyone's okay. Hope you're good. Hope whatever you're doing this Easter, whether you celebrate Easter for whatever reason, I hope you're happy. And yeah, I'm here to brighten your Sunday. Coffee is in hand. And like I say, my brain is just a bit all over the place because of the time difference. You think, how can 1 hour play such havoc with your mind? I think it's because most of us live on such a routine of week to week, whether that's like a 9 to 5 job or whatever your job is. And it's like work and home life. So particularly as an adult, you are rarely kind of straying from it unless it's like the weekend. So whenever there's bank holidays, it really screws up your week. For the American listeners out there, bank holidays are essentially national holidays. And yeah, so if you're lucky enough to work in a place where you get bank holidays off work, you won't be going to work tomorrow. I do have to work. So we have 2 weeks. It's a 2-week school holiday, or 17 days in a row, where my son is obviously not going to school. And my wife and I have somehow got to look after him for 17 days. And the holiday allocation we get from work doesn't allow for that to happen efficiently. Or appropriately, I should say. So all the holidays my kid gets from school during the year, if you added up mine and my wife's holiday days together, we don't get enough holiday to look after him. So some days it's just like, well, I got to go to work. My wife's got to go to work. See you later, mate. And the kid just has to fend for himself. So yeah, it's a weird time. Like the Easter holidays as a kid, you'd absolutely love 2 weeks just playing games and fucking around with your friends and all that. Not anymore. Now I'm just stressed about work, stressed about how to entertain my kid, how to juggle work and watching my kid. I do get to work from home like 2.5 days a week, so that does help. But, how are we expected to do this? My fellow parents out there will understand my pain. It just doesn't add up. The math doesn't add up from holidays and annual leave and work holidays. Like, yeah, there's got to be a better way to do this, because it's I don't understand how people have been living like this. I mean, I was thinking about it more broadly, and I suppose the idea was that, like, years ago, women didn't really go to work, right? Which, that's, and I'm not saying that was like a good thing or anything. I just said that's the way it was, right? Like the those gender roles, if you like. The men would go to work and the women would stay home and raise the kids. Like, both my nans had 10 kids. This is like before contraception, right? Not before contraception, before the birth control pill. So, they were just popping out kids. And yeah, my nans didn't go to work. Well, actually, that's not true. One of my nans was an ambulance driver. but she didn't work full time, and then she had loads of kids, and then worked a little bit later in life. But yeah, it wasn't a problem before when I need to be really careful about my words here. I'm sure listening to me, you know what I'm trying to get at. It's just now, obviously, whoever you are, and the opportunities for you for work are are kind of a little bit different. And the kind of classic, for want of a better phrase, notion of the woman or the wife staying home and raising the kids, that's not really a thing anymore. It's, for better or worse, whatever, however way you want to look at it. People should be allowed to choose and do what they want. That's great. But what's happened is we've ended up in a situation where, I mean, for a start, you have to go to work. This is the problem. You can't. The economy that we live in, my wife and I, like, one of us just can't not work. We would not be able to pay our bills. We would not be able to live because rents and mortgages are so high, and we have a mortgage to pay and we have bills to pay, like everybody out there. It's just everybody has to go to work in order to live in society. You can't have, a couple raising some kids and it's just like, well, I suppose you could if one of you's got like an amazing job where you make millions of pounds. It's like, yeah, good luck to you. But for the average person, everyone's got to be in work, so nobody can stay home and look after the kids. And then we've arrived in this situation where both my wife and I have to work. I mean, we want to work. We both want to work, of course we do. But we also have to. But then when it comes to the holidays, how the fuck are we supposed to watch the kid? Like, what are we supposed to do? What do they want us to do? Do they want us to not have kids? Do they want us to... But, like, we can't afford... And some people I speak to about this say, well, the kid can go to clubs and stuff. No, they can't. They can't. That costs money. So you're paying to put your kid in a club where God knows what's going to happen to them. Got to be on your toes out there. I am really going. I'm supposed to be talking about video games, but long way to a short point. I really fucking hate this. How, you're expected to just figure it out and look after your kids. If you're a single parent out there, good fucking luck. I really feel for you. It's hard enough as a married couple raising one child to make it work. So yeah, I'm in a bit of a mood, as you can tell. It's a funny one. I did have a Reese's peanut butter chocolate egg at like 7 o'clock this morning. That was good. Right, shall we talk video games? I'm going to sit here and rabbit on. Rabbit, there's an Easter pun for you. Let's talk video games. I got a few things to talk about today. Despite my head being in a weird space and me having no concept of time and space. Where is it? I got a couple of bullet points here. So yeah, I got a lot of gameplay stuff. Let's start with just a quick thing. The economy of the video game industry. Just a little news piece. No, this is going to be quick because I know this can be boring, but it's just only because I just wanted to point out something really kind of funny to me. Phil Spencer's been in the news talking about the economy of the games industry, how consoles can no longer subsidize the gaming industry. Consoles aren't growing, and he spoke about having to work in a business where they've got to grow so they can do things and they can develop games and they can hire people. And he's taken a lot of shit because he works for Microsoft, and it's like Microsoft effectively have endless money. It's like, yeah, it's not a good look. But and I'm not going to go into the, like I say, ins and outs of the industry. He makes some very, what I think are very obvious points. I've touched on them before on this show about how the money is in software and services. It's not in hardware anymore. And the software themselves costs so much to make the big AAA games. All this unsustainable stuff. Phil Spencer was talking about getting the Steam store and the Epic Game Store as part of Game Pass, right? And on the Xbox experience as another way to sort of earn revenue and make deals with these people, which makes sense. And he was talking about death of exclusivity, and exclusivity is harming the business. Yeah, I get it. We all get it. Things are changing. They are definitely changing. He's taking a lot of shit because he's saying all this, and it's like, oh yeah, Mr. Corporate guy who works for Microsoft saying, oh yeah, it's such a shame these people get laid off. We wish we could pay them, but we can't. It's like, right, okay, we know that Microsoft have loads of money. We're all participating in the game here. We're all participating in capitalism, because this is the thing I see a lot of people go, oh yeah, capitalism, eh? That's just capitalism for you. Oh, isn't it terrible? It's like, yes, I get it, but we're all participating. I do believe there are people trying to make the best of the situation that we live in this world. We all are, right? We all want to be able to provide for ourselves and provide for each other and our loved ones, and so it happens in all kind of different scenarios, all different businesses. He's just unfortunately Phil Spencer is coming from the position where it's like, yeah, okay, it's hard for me to listen to you because you're working for Microsoft, who could afford to pay these people that you laid off. And it's like, as I said before, it doesn't matter how much money Microsoft make. It doesn't. The model is basically always the same. You're either non-profit or you're for profit, right? And they're for profit. They want to grow, and there's a lot of positives in growing. New technology, new stuff for me to play, new stuff for me to use, and all this kind of stuff. If they don't grow, yeah, who knows? Maybe you might get something, who's the guy, the Larian studio boss was talking about the model that they kind of use, which is slow and steady, and not quarterly growth, and allows you to spend more time, and then you make a good product and a good game, and then you don't have to lay everyone off. And it's like, yes, he is absolutely right. What that does mean is that we may only end up with stuff, I guess, few and far between. The risks are bigger. The long-term development may not pay off, especially in technology, where tech is changing all the time. So yeah, I'm sort of with the Larian guy, and I think that is a better way to do it. And they've had great success with Baldur's Gate, but he's obviously in a privileged position from a different perspective. Phil Spencer's in a privileged position. The Larian guy is in a privileged position. They're both working for effectively successful companies. Not everyone can take their time. Not everyone has the luxury of 3-year early access for games and stuff like that. It's just not the way it works. And gamers on a whole, I believe, are not going to sit by and wait for games to come out every 3 years. And there's not enough studios to kind of all play by that development cycle, I suppose, and that business model. I wish it worked that way, but the thing is, the whole business would then crumble, right? Unless you released, say you got Sony and Microsoft just releasing one AAA game every 3 years, they'd have to charge £300 for that game, wouldn't they? Yeah, I've not got a calculator in front of me. You could sit down and really think about it. It's like, I get it. I get the slow and steady model. It's sensible. A little kind of personal insight about me. I work for a business that is effectively operates as a non-profit for the most part. So I kind of get both sides. I do get both sides because I've worked for jobs where it's all about profit before as well. But yeah, I suppose what I was just trying to say is it was funny to me that he was taking a lot of heat, and Xbox were taking a lot of heat for this. And I thought, this is just the stance of basically all the other publishers out there as well. Sony think like this as well. The difference between Sony and Xbox is Sony don't really have a Phil Spencer that's out there being kind of open about it. And it's like, yeah, maybe you do yourself a bit of damage by being this open and saying, yeah, we are a business. Yeah, we are trying to grow, because it's like, oh yeah, capitalist pig. And it's just like, what did you think they were doing? At least they're honest about it. Sony are doing the same. And as we know, Sony are in fucking big trouble with money at the moment. And, look at what happens to businesses. Look at Stadia. Look at Blockbuster. Look at these businesses that... Okay, Stadia and Blockbuster are different, but My point being that big businesses with a lot of money behind them can disappear effectively overnight. If Sony don't get their act together, they could disappear. It doesn't matter how many PS5s they're selling. I think they're onto it. You know, we know they're talking about doing more not cross-platform, you know, multi-platform strategy and stuff. They know. I mean, I'm sure they can ride it out for a bit longer. I feel like Sony probably are at the moment thinking like, we can ride this out. And that's probably the primary stance they're taking. Whereas Microsoft and Xbox are, you know, at the annoyance of Xbox investors. And when I say investor, I mean literally players. Like me, that people that buy Xboxes and invest in the system. I don't literally mean shareholders. At the annoyance of that, Xbox are like, yeah, we're putting games on PlayStation and PC. Xbox is always talking about the other platforms and the other places rather than talking about me that owns an Xbox console. So it is frustrating. Whereas, yeah, Sony don't say anything. They're just kind of riding it out. But yeah, I got away from what my thought was here. But I just thought, because it's the last couple of days and there's been articles written about, is Phil Spencer killing Xbox and stuff like that. And it's just funny to me because I also read, I don't know how up to it you guys are, people listening to this, in January of this year, who's the guy in charge at Microsoft? What's his name? Satya Nadella, that's the one. He said, I'm pretty sure it was Satya, he said Xbox had more active users on console, more activity happening on console in January of this year than ever in their history. So it's funny when you see all this, Xbox aren't selling consoles, Xbox aren't doing this, Xbox has no games and stuff like that. Oh, the console sales aren't growing. Well, people are playing on Xbox services. Game Pass is a huge deal. Everyone knows it. And yes, the business is evolving just like the music industry evolved, just like everything evolves, just like the movie industry is kind of evolving. Games are evolving as well, and things are changing. The old models are going away. Exclusivity is going away. One platform, you know, everything locked to one platform is going away. Yeah. I just think it's a really interesting time to be a gaming fan because we get kind of more than ever before. Some good, some bad. And we're seeing the industry that we kind of grew up with. It's completely different. It's completely different. It's going away. Everything's changing. And there's this weird resistance online to some people. But I just don't think those people are real. I think most people who play games, certainly everyone I know, couldn't really give a shit like where the games are. Like, people have their preferences with the consoles and stuff and with the controllers, like I've talked about before. I have my preference with the Xbox UI and stuff like that, but I'm happy for the Xbox games to go everywhere. So give me more people to play Gears of War with. And all the, you know, the console warriors, the warriors and stuff online, it's just like, that's like, what, 1% of people who play games? If that? Most people going into the games to buy shops don't care about this stuff, don't know about this stuff. And I tell you what, like, this is the thing about the digital and physical thing as well. That Xbox Series X digital console leaked, which I have no interest in buying. I mean, by all accounts, it has a slightly better heatsink and it doesn't get as hot. But it's digital and it's the same as Series X. It might have bigger internal storage. Unless that console is more powerful in terms of how it runs the games, I have no interest in it because I prefer physical. And people are up in arms on like, the death of physical. It's just like, yeah, it's happening. We all know it's happening. People like Microsoft and Sony are doing what they can to cater to people like me and others who like physical. You know, Sony released their digital console and an external disk drive. Microsoft are probably doing exactly the same thing. And my point being that, you know, us 1% of people who are really hardcore into gaming and really love physical and stuff, physical I use as a loose term these days, depending on what comes on those discs. We are 1% really of the audience, and Microsoft know that, Sony know that, which is why they're producing all digital consoles, because most people don't give a shit and they will just buy it. And if that Xbox Series X digital comes out and it's £150 cheaper than the physical, what's grandma going to buy when she goes into Argos? She's not going to pay £150 more unless she's, a hardcore gamer grandma, which I'm sure they're out there. So yeah, I said that was going to be a little thing, but I'll wrap it up there. It's just floating around in the news again. It's just more signs of the industry's changing. We saw Xbox release the games on PlayStation. Sea of Thieves became like the most pre-ordered game on PlayStation of this year or something like that. It's just like, yeah, makes sense doing that. I've heard that Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment maybe didn't sell as well, but I don't think anyone expected them to. They were smaller, single player games. But Sea of Thieves, I keep seeing loads of Sea of Thieves content in my feed from all kinds of gamers. So that game has got a buzz around it again. So they've made a smart move there. Anyway, yeah, gaming's changing. The industry is tiresome, I know, but I just thought it was fascinating. And it's always funny watching Phil Spencer take a lot of heat, because I believe, it's like, yes, he's a businessman now, but he started in the trenches. He is a gamer at heart, and this is the career path he's taken. I think he's doing what he thinks will help the Xbox brand survive, and that does mean a bit of growth for them. I don't want Xbox to go away. I don't want PlayStation to go away. I want them to grow. Happy for them to change their strategy to make it work. And it's just like, yeah, it feels like just weird people online. It doesn't matter that you can't win. You can't win as these businesses because, like I say, people just go, capitalism, corporations, money. It's like, yes, that's what it's about. It doesn't mean we can't create fun things out of it as well. It's just like some people seem to imply that capitalism has never produced fun things and innovative things that we all enjoy. It's like, I get it. Don't like it? I don't know. What's your options? Go and live in China? Go and live in North Korea? I don't know. Yeah. Capitalism needs a cap on it. I've said that before. No one needs to be a billionaire. Individual capitalism, I don't know what the terminology is. No one needs to be a billionaire. It's a shame Elon Musk is such a cunt because, he's doing things. He's doing some things that you want people with lots of money to do, right? And so let me frame this right. Like, you want somebody to... You look at Twitter and how he's bought Twitter and completely fucked the website up. But you have to give him credit for the whole thing where he basically told advertisers to go piss off. You want something like that. You do want that. Because then you're not at the behest of all this. But it's just, the problem is Elon Musk is not a nice person. So it's like, shit, we were so close. It's like, imagine if I don't know. Who's like a really nice person? Imagine if Keanu Reeves bought Twitter, right? And told all the advertisers to go fuck themselves and got rid of the bots and got rid of spam and got rid of, and stepped up the sort of, there's a case for free speech, but stepped up the dealing with, the real hate speech and the terrorists on Twitter and stuff like that, and I can't think of the terminology, but basically the people who basically just make it their mission to go around being racist and bigots all the time. And it's like, oh, you should let these people say what they want. No. Like, we don't want that. Thank you. Like, go and say it somewhere else. You can have your opinions and we can listen to you and have a conversation. You don't need to be a dick about it. You don't need to be a racist or a homophobe and all that. I am really getting off on a tangent now. Where was I? What was I talking about? Yeah, my point was it's a shame Elon Musk is a twat and we need a cap on capitalism. No one needs to billionaire, but it's like, I wish we lived in a world where we had the billionaires we do have. We're just not psychopaths and egomaniacs because you want disruptors. And capitalism does allow that, I suppose, but unfortunately I can't think of anyone. Who's the nicest billionaire in the world? What about that kid that owns Gymshark in the UK? Is he a nice guy? I don't know. Self-made, right? I have no idea. Most billionaires seem to be utter wankers, so I guess you just get to a point where your brain just does become completely fried with that much money, and you do think you are like the king of everything. And yeah, so it's a shame people like Elon Musk are a twat, because it'd be cool if if a nice person could swoop in and fix things like Twitter and, fix the future of the human race, solve world hunger and all this. And yeah, I know it's complicated, I get it, but they could do it. They choose not to because they don't want to disrupt the systems that have helped them become a billionaire in the first place. So yeah, let's put a cap on capitalism. No one needs to be a billionaire. But I'm not going to give Phil Spencer shit for talking like this. It's just like, yes, they're a business. Cool. Can I have some games that work, please? As long as you're not slaughtering humans and, using, I guess, what is it? Like building sweatshops and stuff like that. But there's another conversation. We're all using stuff with minerals that was mined by slaves, aren't we? What's the point? What's the point, everyone? Should we just pack it up? We're all hypocrites. Especially me. Okay, let's move on. What the fuck has happened to Suicide Squad? Okay, right. So this is like an addendum to, I guess, the first episode I did of the show. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came out to very generally mid reviews, but quite a positive user reaction, I suppose. People that I talked about it before, the reviews were like, this game's not good, but then players who were actually playing it were like, actually, this game's pretty fire. And I saw enough to play it myself. Long and short of it is, I thought it was a really solid launch for various reasons. High production value, great characters, tight gameplay, just lacking a bit on mission variety, and it was kind of like a brief affair. I only had to play it for like 12 hours or whatever, but I had fun. And I understood that it was the launch of a live service game. Oh, maybe they're going to bring some new stuff to it. For basically 2 months, Rocksteady has been fighting fires with bugs and login issues and stuff, and low player counts on Steam and all this. We don't have console player counts, but it's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good for Suicide Squad. But alongside with dealing with all the issues, they have been constantly promoting. Season 1 is coming at the end of March. New playable character with the Joker, new missions and new story content. They've been banging on about it constantly, and I was like, cool, I'll wait and see what that's about. I don't really want to engage too much with grindy live service stuff, but I'm down for fucking around with a new character and the Joker and some new story content. How's the Joker and Harley Quinn going to deal with each other? Excuse me, a bit gassy. This is obviously a different Joker he's like a multiverse Joker and stuff. So yeah, but how are they going to react? What kind of banter's there going to be between those characters? What kind of banter between the Joker and Harley Quinn? Turns out nothing. Absolutely nothing. I feel bad for the devs because they have, a few of them in the past couple of months have been very outspoken about how proud they are of the work and how frustrating it is to deal with the hate. I've said I feel like a lot of the hate towards Suicide Squad was people not getting the new Arkham game that they wanted, rather than focusing on what this game was doing instead. They were reviewing a game they didn't get rather than reviewing the game that existed. And then yeah, I felt sorry for the devs because they clearly were proud of it. No one had a gun to their head, and they were putting their heart and soul into this game, and they liked a lot about it. I feel like they don't promote new missions, new story content, and all this for like 2 months, and then drop what is the new season, which dropped, and effectively what you had was no new missions. You had the same missions with a slightly different location skin. Or stripped back versions of the previous missions. One of them is just like run in and kill 60 enemies. Yeah, the new locations that they talked about, as I said, are the same locations with a few Joker balloons and graphics sprayed around the place. They did bring the new character, the new Joker. They put the Joker behind a 30 level grind, or you could pay £10 to skip the grind and unlock him straight away, which they never mentioned that before. And the story content consisted of an introduction comic, like animated comic, so it wasn't even an animated cutscene, and then apparently there's a cutscene when you recruit the Joker, and that's it. So no new story content, no new missions, nothing that they were promoting for 2 months. And what dropped was a very bare bones season 1 drop for Suicide Squad. So, as I say, I'm someone that played to completion the launch package and dabbled with some of the missions and grindy stuff. Thought it was okay. Was waiting to see what came in. I've been a quote unquote defender of the game. It's not the greatest game in the world, but it's solid. It's not the dumpster fire people were making it out to be. The issue being the bugs and the login issues and stuff. Yeah, that was bad. This as a season 1 drop is flabbergasting. I mean, just kind of, there is no way. I cannot believe that they've been promoting the new missions and story content for the past couple of months with the knowledge that what they dropped was what they were going to drop for season 1. I think post-launch, user feedback or critical response, Warner Brothers talking about how it wasn't the success we wanted, average player count of 500 people in February on Steam. That, for this game, for the budget and the time spent and stuff, it's a failure. It's a catastrophic failure for them. There's no way they kept promoting all that stuff knowing that this is what they were going to drop. So I think it's safe to assume that a plug was pulled, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe really soon after launch. And then while they were still promoting the new season, they would just kind of still figure out exactly what it was that they were going to launch. But I think, that Rocksteady, that Warner Brothers financial thing they did, I think at that point, they acknowledged it wasn't the success they wanted it to be. I'm pretty sure decisions came down the pipe and they're through to Rocksteady. It was like, stop what you're doing, reallocate your resources to somewhere else, work on the next thing or whatever content stuff you were polishing up for season 1. Stop doing it. Stop wasting your time. We need to reassess. Just put out a bare bones thing. Is there any way we can recoup losses? I know. Put the Joker behind a pay to skip mechanic as well. There's just because otherwise they were just lying, right? Otherwise Rocksteady were straight up lying in their marketing, and I don't believe that's the case. I think that is a brazen and risky move to just promise this story content and stuff knowing that you weren't delivering it. I believe there was story content. I believe they were working on it and polishing it up, and I believe there was more to come. And I believe the plug was pulled. It's the only explanation. I can't, and I don't want to, try and have sort of rose-tinted glasses here and be like, yeah, and there's people listening to this going, yeah, the corporations, they lie to you, the studio. But do Rocksteady lie to us? This is Rocksteady. They're a decent studio, right? We know some people left Rocksteady who weren't happy with the direction they were going, but fine. It's like, how often does this happen? Do studios and does marketing straight up lie about what's coming? There's no way they could have marketed what dropped as story content. Come on. Yeah, a plug was pulled. There was a change in strategy and there was a change in direction probably, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, really soon after launch, I expect. And then they were dealing with the marketing, sort of figuring out exactly what it was that they were going to launch. And I think I tried to go back through and see when was like the last time they mentioned story content, and I couldn't really find it. But yeah, it's so I don't know if they've scrubbed stuff from the internet as well. And it's like kind of scrub stuff from their messaging. But I have to believe, because I want to give the devs some credit here, right? I want to give them some credit. I think there was stuff to come, and there was stuff that they were going to do, and yeah, the money has been pulled and been told to be put somewhere else, or they're reassessing. They need more time to reassess, and they may come back to Suicide Squad. But to me, it feels like the game's done now. I feel like even though they've talked about future content, if they can pull it round after this, it will be the biggest turnaround of a video game ever. Given the feeling towards live service and the narrative towards Suicide Squad, I just don't feel like it's possible. It's not like Halo Infinite, where there's kind of dedicated hardcore legacy fans that are there and have got the games back, I don't think that can happen with Suicide Squad. So I'm now in the position of, I'm really disappointed and frustrated, because there was a lot of potential here. The game had something from a gameplay perspective, solid. Like, yeah, as I was talking to, I was on the First Aid Spray Discord the other day, and I said to my buddy Steve that the gunplay felt like as tight as Titanfall, which everyone knows who's played Titanfall has some incredibly awesome gunplay. Obviously, that's first person, and Suicide Squad is third person, but just something about, yeah. I will stand by that. I will stand by the sort of experience, the gameplay experience of Suicide Squad is fantastic. It's just the loop is bad, and the lack of mission variety and stuff is bad. And then to drop this as a season after promising season story content and new missions, yeah, it's really disappointing. Obviously, my buddy Ark as well. I know you'll be listening to this. We talk about Suicide Squad a lot in DMs, and I know he's somebody who's very frustrated about this. And this is just, my sort of anecdotal stuff about it. He's somebody who does engage with these kind of games and engage with Avengers and other, other superhero games. And he's feeling very let down. There was a period of time where he couldn't log in for like 2 weeks as well. And it's just unacceptable, that stuff. People who have paid their money here. And, oh yeah, that was the other thing. I wanted to mention, like, the pay to skip thing for Joker. Like, I don't even really have an issue with that. Like, the grind nature of this, the grindy nature or the pay to skip, it's like, the games are meant to be grindy. That's what the point of these games are. That's fine. I actually don't have a problem with that. The pay to skip, I don't have a problem, because the point is here, not all of us have the time to grind. And if you really, really, really want to play as the Joker, yeah, fine. I'll pay a tenner and unlock the Joker so I get to play as him. The problem is there's nothing to do as the Joker. There's no new missions. There's no new story kind of quest line or story content or story chapters to play as the Joker. If they'd said, look, there's a 5-hour story here we've added to the game, I'd pay £10 straight away. Other people can grind the 30 levels. I haven't got time to do that. I'd be like, oh, cool. So I'd pay a tenner. It's like DLC. And I get 5 more hours playing some new story content as the Joker. If the production value of the story is as good as the core game, the launch game was, I'd have been very happy. But that's not what they've done. This feels like and I have a sort of small bit of experience with live service. I'm not like a lifer on anything like some people are with Destiny or Apex or Halo or whatever they are. People know I play Fallout 76, but I rarely engage with the actual service nature of it. But yeah, I have some experience with these games. And yeah, this feels like what I would call like a mid-season drop, right? So in an ideal world, they would have launched a season 1. Yeah, here's your 5 hours of story content and some 3 new missions to do that are completely different with new objectives and new kind of mechanics that you hadn't seen in the launch stuff. And then, like, 6 weeks later, they do another update to the season, which adds like new skins on the old missions and little new adjustments and a new 30 levels to grind for something else in the battle pass. And it's like, cool. People who grind and are still engaging with the live service nature would enjoy that. And it's like a free mid-season drop, right? That's what this feels like. The fact that they launched a game that was floundering with this for season 1 is, like I say, it's not. There's no way this is what they were planning. There's been a change in direction, and I cannot be convinced otherwise. I could be completely wrong. If I'm wrong, it means they have been promoting. It means they've been lying. Yeah, it means they've been promoting stuff that they didn't have, and that's really, really shitty. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Yeah, and another shout to my buddy Phil, Last of Us content creator, the Horror Game Awards co-creator. We had a little exchange on Twitter about this. So I say exchange only because the point I made was something I'm sort of feeding into what I'm saying here. And I'd said to Phil, like, there has to have been a change in direction. And he replied and said, yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a choice, rather than, you know, trying to bring people back in and with some decent content, just deciding to give up. And it's like, I said to Phil, I don't think there is a choice here. I think if I was the head of the publisher or whoever it was, and I was looking at those numbers and I looked at the budget required to make changes to the game, the budget and time required. This isn't a little indie pixel art game. This is one of the highest production value games you'll find out there. They can't turn on a dime here. So their choices are, wow, 500 players on Steam. Do we risk turning this? Do we spend the time and money turning it around for those 500 players? Or do we pull the plug and do something else? Because if they take that risk, they could kill the studio. And then there'd be more layoffs. And then, I mean, there's probably going to be layoffs anyway. Like, I'm worried for Rocksteady, but hopefully they've got enough, well, you know, quote unquote, in the bank off the back of legacy games and Arkham and all that they should be okay and they should be able to ride this out. But, you know, and apparently, I think Suicide Squad sold okay, so they've made some money there. But, yeah, so the risk is turn it around, bring those 500 players, keep those 500 players happy. Because, you know, it's going to take a lot to bring in new players to get them back on top of that 500. That's a lot of time and money. And if we spend all that time and money and nobody else comes back, then yeah, the studio's dead and we're even more in the hole. Or they make the decision where they go damage control, cut losses, just get something out there that helps us recoup some of the losses and wind this game down. And that sounds like that's what they're doing, which is really sad, really frustrating. Like I say, wasted potential. I feel bad for the devs. A lot of the devs who were very outspoken about the game on Twitter, when I saw them being proud of their work and stuff, it seems like a lot of them have gone very quiet. There is a couple I think I see now and again talking about it, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. They're fighting for their game, and it's like, it's commendable. I respect them and I respect their work. They're probably as frustrated as a lot of the fans are. But some of the other sort of smaller devs, some of the people that worked on lighting and texturing and stuff that maybe, I don't know if they were freelancers, just smaller role people. Yeah, they seem to have gone very quiet. Yeah, because how do you defend this? Yeah, I don't know. As I say, I've been a Suicide Squad apologist. There's a lot of good stuff in an era where a lot of games can be a bit hit and miss and a bit ropey. When this game worked and when you could log in. I mean, I never had any login issues. Just to be clear about that, I never had once have had a login issue on Suicide Squad. I think it was very much a PS5 issue, unfortunately. So I feel bad for those people. Yeah, I've had no bugs or anything. And yeah, there's so much in it. The design, like some of the, you know, I don't really buy skins, but the skins are really cool. The cosmetics they put out for this, the Harley Quinn Amazonian sort of where she's got her makeshift Wonder Woman costume, that is flipping awesome skin. And that's just one of like loads of cool skins they've got. And it's like a tenner for that skin. It's like, ouch, yeah, £10, that's a lot. But somebody had to make it, you know? Somebody had to texture it and model it and make it look good. If you really like it, pay for that time. I don't know. Microtransactions, eh? I talked a lot about Dragon's Dogma's microtransactions. Just as an addendum on that, quickly before I move on from Suicide Squad, that I think there was some confusion about those Dragon's Dogma 2 microtransactions. There was no fast travel stuff. It was some weird. I don't really understand it because I don't play the game. And I think even the articles that I was reading that had written about it were wrong about some of the microtransactions. What people weren't wrong about is that the microtransactions were there, and I stand by the fact that you're selling cheats to people, and that's predatory and bullshit. But in terms of what the items were, I think there was confusion over that. So it's no big deal really. And it sounds like, to be honest, the issue of microtransactions in Dragon's Dogma 2 has gone away, and now loads of people just fucking hate the game for what it is. Which is ironic. It seems like people have got over the launch, the love story of the launch, and the spark from the early days of the relationship is gone, and there's some people very kind of disappointed with the later stages of the game, both performance wise and just gameplay wise, some of the mechanics and stuff. And I've seen a few things online of people not very happy with Dragon's Dogma 2, so it's a mixed game. I really want to play it. I don't know when I'm going to play it, but yeah. So yes, Suicide Squad, like I say, there's some really good stuff in there. It's such a shame it's all panned out this way, because it looks like the game is done. I hope it's not. I'm sincerely, and I'm not trying to be like a flip-flopper here, I sincerely hope I'm wrong. I would love if they turned this around and they simplified things, brought some new story and stuff over the next 6 months. Can they float that though, and can they keep it going? I don't know. I've got the game. If a new update comes in 3 months' time where they've said there's some story, I'll definitely log in and play it and check it out. But I just think reaction from and that's the other thing I didn't talk about, like this season 1 drop, like it seems it's universally being panned by fans. And I even went on the Discord and had a look there. There's a few people defending it, like if you don't like grindy games, go and play something else. It's like, yeah, that's not the problem, mate. That's not the problem. Yeah, so it's been universally negative reactions all round, which is a shame. Good luck, Rocksteady, because you're going to need it. I know a lot of work has gone into this game. I really am a big fan of some of the stuff you did. I'm not a big fan of this season 1 drop. Kind of shocking, to be honest. And to be clear, like, I have checked it out for myself. I have logged onto the game and played a bit. I wanted to, make sure that all the hate was accurate. And, they've dropped some other things. There's like new weapon sets and stuff. It's cool. There's some work has gone into that side of stuff, but none of the stuff they promised really. Well, a large portion of what they promised isn't there. So that's the issue. Right, anyway, I'm going to move on. Going to move on from negatives to positives, really. Gameplay. What's been going on? What have I been playing? Let's try and speak properly today. I finished Alone in the Dark. Let's have a quick little addendum on that. Fabulous game. Another one that came out to very mixed reviews. Talked about it more last week. I was kind of stunned when I play it. Really pissed off about people complaining that puzzles required you to read files in the game to find the solutions. What a concept to mark a game down for. I really love it. I've played it through 3 times. It's a kind of relatively brief affair. If you run through the game, you can do it in like 4 hours. Maybe less than that. But I've played through with both characters, and then the third time... Well, I've almost finished a third playthrough. The third time playing through, what I've been doing is listening to the director's commentary, like the developer commentary. It adds a feature where you can, pretty much every room you go into, there's like a floating microphone. You press that microphone and they talk about what's in the room, and that could be anything to do with the design of the room. Sometimes there's more than one. Sometimes there's 3 fucking microphones in the room. And one talks about story, one talks about location, another talks about design, legacy of the game and stuff. Really, really cool. I wish more games did this. I long for the days of... Remember when DVDs first came out and bonus features were like... Every DVD pretty much came packed with bonus features, and how many bonus features were like a factor on what ones you bought. There's like famous bonus features. I think of the Shaun of the Dead audio commentaries, right? And that's like the tip of the iceberg. And making ofs, and I'm someone that loves this shit. So experiencing Alone in the Dark with thoughts from the developers, it's made me love the game even more. Yes, it's not a AAA, it's a AA game. Combat is a little bit ropey. Alan Wake 2's combat was kind of shit. It's not really the focus of the game. It's fine. The combat in this game, Alone in the Dark, is very similar to Alan Wake 2. You know, the perspective is like Resident Evil 2 Remake, that kind of thing, and some of the fundamentals are the same. But this game, Alone in the Dark, like Alan Wake 2, isn't really about combat. It's more about the story, the atmosphere, the puzzling, unsolving the mystery, and just kind of, like I said last time, it's like reading a book, which may not sell it to some people. It is an interactive story experience more than anything, but a really good one, I thought. Lead actors are okay. You know, sometimes hit and miss. There's some great fixed camera perspective stuff. For those who've played through the game will know what I'm talking about. There's a really great section with the fixed camera angle perspective that just made me kind of cheer. Really good. I need to clean up some achievements on it. I think I've seen there's one ending I haven't seen yet. If you are a horror game fan, go and get Alone in the Dark. Play through it. Don't expect the best game you've ever played. It's not that. We live in a time where people's expectations are so high. Not everything has to be the greatest life-changing thing ever. This is a really kind of tasty, flavoursome, atmospheric little horror game that won't take you 100 hours to play. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend Alone in the Dark. It's funny because it's by THQ Nordic, and they are pumping out the games. You know, they're owned by Embracer as well, right? And one of my games I'm going to talk about in a minute is also by THQ Nordic. Let's look at the games they've done recently that I've played. Right, so this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. In the past year, some of the most fun I've had in games has been with games from THQ Nordic. AEW Fight Forever. Remnant 2. Remnant 2 was like in the running for Game of the Year last year. I mean, I played it really late. I played it over Christmas. So good. Alone in the Dark, obviously. And then the game I'm going to get to in a minute, South Park Snow Day. So big up THQ Nordic. What else have they done? I mean, if you go to their website, they've done loads of games that I haven't played as well. They've done some mobile games as well. Just trying to spot some here that people would really, really recognise. Obviously, the first Remnant. Wreckfest, which I know is massively popular. Oh my god, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, which my son is playing and I'm playing with him as well. THQ Nordic, kind of low-key fire developer here, right? Pumping out the fun content, the fun games. Yeah, a real mix of stuff in their catalogue. Go and check out the website. But yeah, for me, literally just in the past 12 months, AEW Fight Forever, Remnant 2, Alone in the Dark, South Park Snow Day. Yeah. So yes, to wrap up Alone in the Dark, go play it. If you're a horror fan, go play it. And some reviewers are dumb, as I've talked about. Speaking of dumb reviewers, IGN gave South Park Snow Day a 3 out of 10. Right. Do I need to waste my time? Do I need to waste my time? A 3 out of 10? What, imagine that kind of game in your mind. What's that? Broken, unplayable, abysmal, like I'm not going to waste my time. I could sit here and just slate IGN and tear the review apart. I'm not going to. 3 out of 10, absolute fucking nonsense. Now, South Park Snow Day wasn't massively well received across the board with reviews. Some people more landed on the 6s and 7s kind of thing, which I suppose, I'm going to talk about South Park Snow Day because I picked it up, and the too long didn't listen version is, a 6 and a 7 is probably about right. A solid 6. But there's a big important caveat here. This game was 25 quid. 25 big ones, or 25 little ones, I should say. I'm a South Park fan. I have been since the days when it launched, when I was probably too young to be watching it. I know lots of people I know are South Park fans. Obviously, the games they've released in history have been a bit of a mix. We had Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole a few years ago, which were both very well received for the most part. And are fantastic games, really captured the spirit of the show and all that kind of stuff. Not going to talk about them too much here. South Park Snow Day is not those games, whereas those games played, they were like 2D RPG, very classic turn-based games. That's not what this is. This is more of this plays like, so it's called like a roguelike, where it's based around doing runs, and there's 5 story chapters, and each chapter is like a run. It's like a 20-minute mission that you go through, and every time you do the mission, there's some procedural generation. So sometimes what you do in the mission is in a different order, or there's a slightly different location. The enemy placements can be different. And then you have cards, which you have and the enemy has, which kind of buff or debuff, and which hinder your combat. You have special powers as well, which are different every time. And you can, as you go through the run, you meet the merchant, which is Jimmy, and you can upgrade your cards, which make them more powerful, using things that you've collected throughout the run. So yeah, a run, depending on what difficulty, can take you anywhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes. The harder difficulties are really fucking hard. But I suppose the long and short of it is, I'm a South Park fan. I was always going to pick this up. I was kind of nervous about the 3D, them going to 3D, moving away from the 2D stuff that they did in the recent games. In terms of visuals and stuff, it's fine. Looks shockingly good. It was maybe my biggest worry going into the game, that is it going to feel like South Park if they're all 3D, because it's the complete opposite style? No, they really make it work, and the game looks nice. It's not mind-blowing, but there's some good lighting and good scenery. All the characters look good. So visually, really cool. Like, it's South Park through and through with the style, but just transformed to 3D to give it a bit more depth, and it works. It really does work. Characters and humor, so it's all there. Script is funny. And they say different things depending on the cards that you pick and stuff like that. It's South Park jokes, so your mileage may vary. There's satire, there is toilet humor. It's a mix of everything. There is swearing, of course, and the thing I always like about South Park is the swearing. It always does seem to land. It seems like they use it effectively. Always makes me chuckle. There's like references to the show and stuff like that. All the thing that South Park fans will enjoy. Gameplay, so as I mentioned, it functions around 5 chapters, and you basically go dungeon diving, and you start the chapter, go through each area, complete some objectives, take down all the enemies, go to the next area, rinse and repeat with your different cards. Find cards along the way, upgrade them. It's very simple. Combat is fine. Basically it's melee and range. You're switching between hitting them with a sword or shooting arrows or shooting fire, an element from your magic wand. Really straightforward. It plays like this. Okay, this is going to sound really harsh. It plays a bit like a kid's game. Like, I've played a lot of kids games because I do play them with my kid. So it's very simple, the gameplay, but there's something kind of fun about that, and I don't necessarily want every single game I play to be, parry at the right time or you're fucked kind of thing. There's just, this just go through, bash some enemies, use your special funny powers and watch them burn, watch them die and stuff like that. That sounds really brutal. And it's carried by the South Park flavour and style and humour. So, nothing too major to write home about gameplay-wise, but I found myself redoing the runs and wanting to. I think the cards are so funny. Some of them, it upgrades your attacks by a certain percentage. Some of them are. There's a really cool one where you use your cat to basically spray at the enemies, which confuses them and makes them fight each other, and then you can get like longer periods of confusion, bigger kind of fart clouds. or spray clouds, and then you have this thing called fart escape, which farts you into the air and lets you get away. Then you can upgrade the card, which when it farts you into the air, it leaves a gas cloud on the ground, which they're all choking and the enemies start puking. And then if you've got a fire wand, you can shoot it at the gas cloud, which explodes the gas cloud and sets everyone on fire as well. How can you not fucking have fun with that? I mean, yeah, it's a little bit stupid sometimes, but had a lot of fun. And for like I said, it's 25 quid. If I'd paid 50 quid for this, I'd probably be a bit miffed. But from what I understand, they're going to add to it. Matt Stone called this game. He said, if you imagine that that Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole were like movies, like a movie version of South Park, but in the game form, this Snow Day is more like an episode of the show, and it's exactly that. It's not as long. It feels like an episode of the show that you're going through rather than a big epic movie. And from what I understand, they were saying they're going to add to it. They're going to add more runs and more chapters, and so this is, I suppose, the South Park attempt at live service, right? I hate to use that term again, but I'm fully expecting, like THQ Nordic have done with AEW Fight Forever, they've been bringing out DLC for that like every 3 months. Fair play to them. And that game is fun. It's not the greatest wrestling game ever made. It's a lot of fun. But they keep pumping out the DLC. They've been devoting time to Fight Forever. I think they're probably going to do that with Snow Day as well. They're going to bring new missions and new cards and stuff. And, depending on the cost of the DLC, I might check it out. I might be jumping back in. The game encourages you to play co-op, to, link up with 4 of your... Link up. Online, invite 4 of your friends. You can play it by yourself, which is what I did. You just have AI partners, that come and help you. The revive mechanic is a little bit fiddly, but... that's fine, I suppose. No big complaints, and I think it's because of the price. Yeah, I can't be too harsh on it. It's a fine little package for fans. I've had a lot of fun. I'm intrigued. To see what they add. They could add some new characters to players, add some new powers, add new locations. They've done Snow Day, add South Park Snow Day, but I don't know, Invasion of the Crab People, right? Or Asses of Fire. Bring Terrence and Phillip in. So there's something here. There is something here. It doesn't have a lot of depth. I don't know. But for 25 quid, I'm very reluctant to be too harsh on it. I had fun. There's probably like a few achievements I might go and unlock, but I'm basically done with the game after like 10 hours. And just kind of on standby, I suppose, to see what I get from it in the future. So it's for fans. I think really it's for fans. It's not necessarily for hardcore gamers. I think it's for fans who want a bit of silly South Park fun. But it was like, I could appreciate what they were trying to do with the gameplay. It's a bit like playing Diablo, but in South Park. Going through, smashing all the enemies, finding some chests, getting some stuff, getting some loot, going to the next area. Very much like Diablo. Yeah, I suppose I recommend it if you're a fan of the show. But again, 25 quid. And I'm sure it'll probably be on sale in no time. Probably be on Game Pass at some point, if you've got Game Pass. So that's it. I mean, I think I've been going longer than I would have usually intended to go for today's episode. Do I have anything else to talk about? No, I think I've kind of covered it. Coming up, what's coming up? Game releases. Let's have a quick look. What's next on my agenda? So we are about to end March. Is the 31st today. In April, what games do we have coming out that are going to catch my eye? Mini Shoot Adventures, Turbo Golf Racing, Botany Manor, Children of the Sun. No. Nothing big here. Grounded's coming to PS5. The only thing coming out in April that interests me is Stellar Blade, but it's only on PS5 and I don't have a PS5. Stellar Blade looks fantastic. Yeah, no big releases until we get to what's in May. Oh, nothing really coming out. Paper Mario for the Switch in May. Really, it's looking ahead to June. Elden Ring DLC, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I really, really want to play that. Yeah, Luigi's Mansion. I think April will be a time for me to maybe catch up on some of the backlog. What's this unicorn game everyone's going on about? Unicorn Overlord? I maybe want to check that out. Unicorn Overlord is a 2024 tactical role-playing game developed by Vanillaware and published by Atlas. Looks very anime. I don't know, maybe it's not my thing. Well, maybe I'm going to finally jump into something like, I keep talking about Dragon's Dogma, but I still haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. I still haven't played Cyberpunk 2077. Maybe it's the time I finally started one of those games. On Gears Intel, we are going to be covering Gears Tactics, so I need to get in my playthrough of that. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening. You can, of course, find me on Twitter still for now. And it is still Twitter because it says Twitter in the URL bar. K_D_B_. Come and let me know what you think of the Suicide Squad shit show, what you think of the gaming industry, what you think of South Park Snow Day and all that lovely stuff. And go buy Alone in the Dark. I'm still playing Balatro as well. If you haven't bought it yet, buy it. Support indie gaming. And yeah, I'm going to have a think about what I'm doing next. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Come and, like I say, on Twitter, I will promote all my other shows. We just put out another episode of Tapes from the Waste, the Fallout podcast. There was a huge Fallout new update this week. Go and listen to me talk about that if you have any interest in Fallout or just hearing me ramble on and get hyped about the Fallout TV show as well. Go and listen to Tapes from the Wastes. Yep. Go and listen to First Aid Spray. Go and listen to Starfield Sandwich. And go and listen to Gears Intel. And 2 Carrots will be back soon enough. That's it from me. Enjoy your Easter, everybody. He is risen, etc. Have some chocolate. Goodbye. Bye.